Tzu Chi Hospitals medical staff win the trust of family members of burn patients through their professionalism. Tzu Chi volunteers join residents of the Maheswori tent community in celebrating the Ropana festival. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Anita Lee. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program in Taiwan. To parents of the Bali water park explosion, watching their children in pain is unbearable. When Mr. Zhao was first sent to the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital, which is without a burn center, his parents wanted to get him transferred as they didn't believe the hospital was equipped to care for their son. However, the medical staff got the parents to change their mind, and now Mr. Zhao's condition has improved. Mrs. Zhao's son suffered burns to 65% of his body at the Bali water park explosion. Thanks to the meticulous care of the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital, he has survived the first 72 hours. When the tragedy first occurred, the family had wanted to transfer the patient to a larger hospital with a burn center, but the medical staff managed to change their mind.
When I saw him today, he can now move his eyes. He still can't talk through his mouth, but he can move his body already. I am truly moved. There are really miracles. The doctors here really saved his life.
As major medical centers within the Greater Taipei were already overwhelmed with burn patients, doctors at the Tzu Chi Hospital did not think it would be suitable to have Mr. Zhao transferred. To save the lives of burn patients placed in its care, the hospital worked together with other Tzu Chi hospitals to form a burn unit.
Currently, we have enough manpower to staff the new burn unit. With the superintendent and the rest of Tzu Chi Hospital's full support, we should be all right.
The patients will also begin to undergo debridement to prevent sepsis, which will then be followed by skin grafting. To put the patients' families at ease, the doctors meet with each family to go over the procedures with them.
We will first cover them with the best synthetic skin we can find. Once their condition is stabilized, we will perform debridement, maybe up to 2 times a week, depending on the patient's condition. Depends on how fast they heal. We will then start skin grafting.
The whole treatment will last at least 3 months and will be stressful and painful to both the patients and their families. But the hospital staff and Tzu Chi volunteers will be with them every step of the way to help see them through the ordeal. Over at the Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital, a patient of the water park explosion has transferred here from the Taipei Veterans General Hospital.
Currently, the patient's life sign is stable. I believe there might still be risk of complications, but he is getting better for now. We will dress his wounds regularly and evaluate the healing of his skin.
Mr. Liu suffered second-degree burns to 20% of his body and was immediately wheeled to the hospital's burn center.
If we can cover his wounds with artificial skin, then that's what we will do. Otherwise, we will apply ointment instead. Both will help him heal. The only difference is in the pain. Artificial skin will prevent direct contact with the wounds, so it will cause less pain.
I am now more at ease. What we are most concerned about is the pain, as we know it is unbearable. Thanks to the doctor's thorough explanation, I can now relax.
Again, Tzu Chi's doctors took time to put the patient's family at ease. Now, Mr. Liu's mom can go home to Taidong without worries. Just like the rest of burn patients, Mr. Liu will require at least 3 months to recover, and the hospital will do its best to make that happen. Typically, the outlook for someone who suffered burns to more than 60% of their body is grim at best. But Mr. Liu, who suffered burns to 90% of his body at the Bali water park explosion, miraculously woke up in just 3 days. Not only can he move his limbs, he is also breathing on his own.
To see Mr. Liu, who suffered burns to 90% of his body, regain consciousness is a miracle in the eyes of the medical staff here at Chinese Medical University Hospital.
With his injuries so extensive and to be able to regain consciousness so quickly, this is probably the first time we have seen something like this. We have already removed his breathing tube. He can move his limbs as well and is in good spirits.
Doctors say it is very rare for someone who has been burned so badly to come to in 3 days and breathe on their own. The hospital staff are impressed by Mr. Liu's will to live and courage, as he doesn't complain when they dress his wounds.
This young man is really quite impressive and brave. I said to him, you must have the courage to live. He actually gave me a thumbs up in reply.
Though Mr. Liu has successfully survived the first critical stage, the coming week will be another vital period for burn victims like him.
There is now the risk of infection, and we might encounter antibiotic-resistant bacteria. We're carefully monitoring him and will administer the proper medication at the first sign of an infection.
Mr. Liu is a sophomore at Wanling University and dreams of being a guitarist. Unfortunately, what was supposed to be a day of fun during summer vacation at the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park went tragically wrong. Thankfully, he has made a miraculous recovery, and his story has encouraged other victims and their families to never lose hope.
4 victims of the water park explosion were transferred to the Zuoying branch of Kaohsiung Armed Forces General Hospital. Next, we learn more about 2 of the victims.
Tzu Chi volunteers from Kaohsiung bring a letter of blessing from Master Zhen Yan to give to Mrs. Lee at the hospital. Her daughter was one of those injured in the Bali water park explosion last Saturday.
She covered up her pain and went to take her exams. After the exams were over, her mother found severe burn blisters on her calf.
A student in the Department of Childcare, Miss Lee, ignored her own injuries as she continued to help others douse out the fire with her jacket.
With the doctor's permission, she wants to check out of the hospital, so the bed can be given to someone who is more badly hurt.
Also being treated at the same hospital is 29-year-old Mr. Huang. His first concern was in the well-being of his 4 friends.
He couldn't talk, but his gestures looked like he was upset. But actually, he just wanted a pen to write. He asked about his friends.
Disregarding their own pain, these victims show that there is still plenty of love and care in the world.
Among the 6 burn victims currently being treated at Kaohsiung Chang'e Memorial Hospital, Ms. Chen from Hualien sustained burns to 70% of her body. Ms. Chen's parents have put their business on hold to care for their daughter in Kaohsiung.
Moving to a new temporary housing, Mr. Chen is relieved to see that his daughter has finally opened her eyes.
I cried when I saw her for the first time after her injury. I'm able to smile now, thanks to these friends in Kaohsiung. Whether we know them or not, they helped us a lot, knowing we're not familiar with Kaohsiung.
As his daughter's condition improves, Mr. Chen has come to feel deep gratitude for the help he has received. He and his wife have found temporary housing in Kaohsiung so that they can now care for their daughter wholeheartedly. Besides the Chens, another burn victim's mother is also finding a reason to be optimistic about the future.
Fortunately, he is conscious, and that is a relief. Although he sustained burns to much of his body, at least he is conscious.
The burn victim, Mr. Ye, is a sophomore at Zhengxiu University, and he attended a color powder party before taking his final exams. His mother said that he had been to the water park before, attending a bubble-themed party. In the accident, Mr. Ye suffered injuries to his face, hands, and most of his legs. As the road to healing will be a long one, his mother prays that he will continue to recover with courage and optimism.
In May of this year, the Taiwan government passed a long-term care bill. The bill, once enacted, aims to provide support and comprehensive care for those with physical and mental impairments, including the elderly. In the future, veterans' homes in Taiwan will also become a service provider of institutional care for the elderly. The quality of care provided at these homes will not only benefit their own residents, but the country's elderly will also be allowed to enjoy these shared resources.
It is a beautiful day outside,
and the seniors' faces are beaming with smiles. This is the Jiali Veterans Home in Qifu District, Tainan. Residents here don't follow a set schedule, and everyone has their own exercise regimen to help with their rehabilitation. These veterans sing and dance to old classics, as these are a few of the things they still remember.
啦啦啦。
It's really these day-to-day activities that keep them busy. We basically that they manage their own time, so that they don't just sit in their rooms, stare at the ceiling or watch TV all day long.
Grandfather Liu, who suffers from dementia, is holding a tray with cups and saucers on his lap. As he is active and loves to keep himself busy, it is difficult to tell that he in fact suffers from dementia.
帮忙啦，帮忙他可以帮忙啊，他帮我们忙啊。他明年100岁。引导他生活。
We want to help them become more independent and also bring out their potential, so that they can lead a normal life.
照顾我们就是家人，
They're just like our family, so we want them to lead a normal life. Just like they have to eat, they have to prepare their own meals too.
By teaching these seniors to be independent, staff of the home hope that they may continue to maintain their quality of life.
继续炒，还没有炒完。对啊。
Every day come noon, Grandfather Tao busies himself in the kitchen cooking red bean paste, while Grandmother Li keeps herself occupied making Chinese chive pie. These are just some of the activities residents do to keep themselves busy on a day-to-day basis.
这煎饼请客人吃好不好，李妈妈？很漂亮。
Even after all these years, Grandma Li's skills remain polished. Besides medical care, residents also care about how they can find the best quality of life for themselves. Of the 16 veterans' homes in Taiwan, despite the quality of care provided, many of the rooms remain vacant and unoccupied. And although 5 to 10% of beds have been allocated to victims of natural disasters or the homeless, those who actually make use of these facilities are few. Furthermore, within the next 5 years, these institutions will be integrated into Taiwan's long-term care system.
As we integrate existing institutions into the long-term care system, the government will also have to come up with a plan to finance the infrastructure for long-term care, while the cost of care services will be financed by long-term care insurance.
On this particular day, the home organized a small getaway for its residents. The home's director, caretakers, and even nursing interns were all mobilized to look after the seniors. Although these seniors may one day forget such an enjoyable moment ever existed, we will never forget.
让我们这些长辈能够得到。
We hope to give these seniors a normal life and provide them with better care. I feel that our job is a very meaningful and worthwhile one.
值得的。
One can say that caring for the elderly is like a rehearsal for what is to come, as one day our parents will age and so will we. June 30th is Ropana Festival in Nepal. On this day, residents throughout the country celebrate with traditional foods and activities as farmers transplant their rice seedlings into the fields. Celebrating this special day with members of the Maheswori tent community were Tzu Chi volunteers who were honored by residents for their efforts in helping Nepal recover and rebuild. Residents of the Maheswori tent community have prepared traditional snacks and homemade bamboo banks ahead of Ropana Festival. They also didn't forget to invite some important guests.
In this day, most of the farmers celebrate this day. That's why in this day, we call it Juju Dhau in Newari. Juju Dhau.
Each Tzu Chi volunteer was given a bindi, a kacha or traditional scarf, and flowers.
She is not from a particular area, but she has been a recipient of Tzu Chi's care for a long time. They received tents and their children have a school to study at.
Ropana Festival is one of the most important agricultural festivals in Nepal. And on this day, residents honored the Tzu Chi volunteers for their efforts over the past 2 months.
They say that we are blue and white clad angels here to save them.
The seeds of love have been planted here in Nepal, and their harvest is just around the corner. Ready to pass on the baton, Tzu Chi volunteers in Nepal recently put local volunteers in charge of the last uniform distribution for Nepalese students.
Tzu Chi Disaster Relief and Medical Team has asked local volunteers to organize the last uniform distribution for local students. But one of them, Pasan, had mixed feelings about hosting the event for the first time.
I'm nervous but happy to host for the first time because I need to make others happy.
Reading the consolation letter in Nepalese with deep emotion, another local volunteer, Sira, has taken the words to heart.
The master is in my heart. Although she's in Taiwan, her spirit is with the Tzu Chi volunteers.
Standing in the front row, the local volunteers look dignified and fully up to the challenge. They can also be very lively. Local volunteers have learned much from the Tzu Chi volunteers during the past 2 months. From giving to serving, they have gained an important sense of mission.
When I was little, I did not have money, so I understand the agony. One feels happy to receive help, so I will continue to help kids.
I'm 100% a Tzu Chi volunteer. I will continue to carry out Tzu Chi's work and introduce Tzu Chi to people, so more of them will join us.
As local volunteers vow to continue the work of helping Nepal and its citizens, their efforts also mean hope for Nepal's reconstruction.
Next, we meet Tzu Chi volunteer Zhang Suzhen, who is a veteran of international relief work. During her stay in Nepal, Zhang has gotten to know all the families in the Sway and Bunath tent community and witnessed their living conditions firsthand. As this experience has been the most touching one for Zhang, she will be staying in Nepal for an extra week, doing more for the quake survivors.
Tzu Chi volunteer Zhang Shuzhen knows all the families in the Sway and Bunath tent community, and her heart goes out to each one.
在清真寺是祈祷，在那个路边的话是在乞讨。
Zhang gives this 5-year-old girl warm hugs each time she sees her.
The doctors suggested he get treated, but they did not have the money, so the child had difficulty swallowing.
Having participated in international disaster relief work many times, Zhang is staying here for an extra week, as this time in Nepal has been especially moving.
I've taken part in international disaster relief work many times, but I've learned and cried the most in Nepal.
For Zhang, many of the experiences were a first time for her, such as participating in a supply distribution in the field.
我们要在这里。在哪里？不是，我们明天的场地在哪里？在这里。在这里。
Zhang also entered the tents and witnessed the quake survivors' living conditions firsthand.
当我进去他们帐篷跟他做。
When I visited them in the tent, I touched the comforter and it was wet and had a strong smell.
都是湿的，而且味道非常的重。
Having witnessed suffering firsthand, Zhang also saw the hope for recovery in this birthplace of the Buddha.
Young people here are full of vitality, so I feel that we will be able to pass on the Tzu Chi experience.
As the residents here struggle to recover from the terrible tremors, Zhang will be there for them.
Following Typhoon Haiyan, Tzu Chi volunteer Li Xinjun used his skills as a drone pilot to help Tzu Chi survey disaster sites ahead of the rebuilding efforts. And as Tzu Chi moves into its mid to long-term relief efforts in Nepal, Li has arrived in the country to offer his unique skill set.
The
video drone shows volunteers an unobstructed aerial view of a school and its surrounding area. Pictures like this will be critical in helping Tzu Chi plan its rebuilding efforts over the next few months.
In the Philippines, after Haiyan, I flew this drone a lot, as Tzu Chi is now entering its mid to long-term relief phase. Many schools and possible locations for prefab housing need to be scouted out, and that is where this drone comes in.
Li Xinjun was born in Malaysia before later moving to the Philippines. Following Typhoon Haiyan, he used this drone to survey the disaster areas one by one. Now in Nepal, he has volunteered to do the same.
After I heard the news, I started watching DaAi TV every day, as well as following the updates on the Tzu Chi web page, even reading the daily journals being posted.
Seeing that his skills were needed, Li immediately asked for a week off from work to come to Nepal.
The most important thing is to give to the best of my ability. Of course, I'm also thankful for the victims in giving us a chance to help.
By recording the devastation, Li is helping Tzu Chi take the first step in doing something about it.
As Tzu Chi's work continues in Nepal following the earthquake in April, volunteers in Malaysia recently took to the streets to canvass for donations on behalf of the country and its residents.
Despite the rain, Tzu Chi volunteers are here in an Indian suburb canvassing for donations for Nepal.
Nepal is a poor country, then we have to donate. This one we are human, you know. We are all, doesn't matter, we are other kind, other races, okay? We are human.
This area is mostly populated by Indians, so the people donating today are mostly Indian. They have been very supportive of this and have been giving what they can with a smile.
One owner of a tea shop, herself a Tzu Chi member, not only donated, but allowed the volunteers to solicit donations from her customers. With every donation, volunteers offer a 90-degree bow in thanks, as they know that each donation, no matter how small or big, will be a force for good in Nepal.
In Malaysia, the stage adaptation of the Water Repentance Sutra will kick off this Friday. Since last week, Tzu Chi volunteers have been working to finalize the stage setup. Although working behind the scenes, their commitment to the Sutra musical is no less than those of their onstage peers. We leave you with these images. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.